How much does it cost to digitize a book?
It costs 10 cents a page to basically photograph a book, a page, and then run it through all of these steps. So a book, which is about 300 pages on average, a book then costs $30 to go and digitize. So if you wanted to make a million book library, it's a million books times $30, $30 million would be the cost of building a digital library of a million books that anybody could have access to, copyright willing.
Can these contracts that have been written between Google and Harvard or Oxford or the New York Public Library, University of California library system be broken?
I don't know. You'd have to ask lawyers, but these things are pretty rock solid. These are
for all time, in perpetuity.
At least the digital copies that are coming back to the libraries are under these restrictions forever.
Do you see the end of libraries as we know them?
Libraries as a physical place to go, I think will continue. But if this trend continues, if we let Google make a monopoly here, then we'll lose what libraries are in terms of repositories of books, places that buy books, own them, be a guardian of them, will cease to exist. Libraries going forward may just be subscribers to a few monopoly corporations' databases.
What about antitrust laws? Why wouldn't they apply here? Google owning all the access to the books of the 20th century that are out of print?
It's horrendous, isn't it? So what about antitrust laws and all? I think what's taking people by surprise is the way this is happening. Usually, these monopolies, and we've had to wrestle with them in the tech world seemingly every decade. AT&T, then IBM, then most recently Microsoft. Usually they achieve it through some kind of market dominance. They go and play not fair. They go and do something and just deal with it in that way. And then the courts come in to try to take apart the monopoly. But in this case, they're actually using the courts to create the monopoly. So the idea of using a class action settlement to make a court-sanctioned monopoly for Google and this bizarre other thing called the Books Rights Registry is really a new use of class action law to go and use the courts to create a monopoly.
So could legislation nullify these agreements? Could they break the monopoly?
I guess Congress can do anything, but since this is sort of coming in through the back door, through the judiciary, it's a little odd. There are people in the Justice Department that are starting to look at this, and I hope they take a close look at not only the monopoly of what Google's trying to make, but this price-setting organization called the Books Rights Registry is another sort of bizarre outcome of the secretly negotiated settlement that could determine the future of libraries.
So Brewster Kahle, what difference does it make if people offer public comment, and where can they go?
What happens with this case is there are people that can come forward and object. They can either say the class isn't a good class, that the idea of the Authors Guild, which has about 8,000 members representing millions of authors and dead authors and heirs, isn't working. That's one approach. Another is potentially that there's an antitrust issue. But I'd say actually law professors are scratching their head about how to actually deal with this. But there's starting to become groups of people. The ALA, American Library Association, is going to object. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, the Internet Archive, Public Knowledge. There are organizations that are becoming very concerned and trying to figure out what can you do at this late stage. It's happening all very fast. The comments are due in less than a month, and people are starting to really understand these hundreds of pages of settlement documents that have been foisted on the public.
Do you see the end of the book?
The book as we know it, which is printed and put between two covers, there'll still be books. But in their primacy of how intellectual discourse happens, it's going to move online and very likely form. So really how long-form narratives have got to find a way online. And if we want to have a publishing system that's a distributed publishing system that has lots of authors that get paid, then we don't want to have single corporate control over the distribution of those works. Otherwise, what it is we've had for centuries as the book, the freedom of the press, will become so restricted that it won't look like what it is we grew up with.
Brewster Kahle, founder of the nonprofit online library, the Internet Archive, located at archive.org. The Justice Department has launched an investigation into whether Google is violating antitrust laws. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. When we come back, the Nobel Peace Laureate Shireen Ebadi on Roxana Saberi, the jailed Iranian-American journalist, on the war in Afghanistan, and more. Stay with us.